Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and welcome to my craft room. Last week we made our little stocking blocks that look like this, and these measured, I believe it was 8.5 by 10.5, but this week we're going to work on these blocks, and these are meant to measure 12.5 inches square. Now, like with anything, of course, it's based on what seam allowance you use. The patterns like this generally need you to use a scant 1/4 inch seam. I'm not a fan of the scant 1/4 inch, so my blocks end up whatever size they end up. I use the side of my presser foot, and then whatever seam allowance I use, it's the same for every block. So sometimes my quilts are just a little bit smaller than what yours might be. It's okay, as long as they all measure the same, it'll be fine. Now, I looked for this actual pattern online, and I only found it in a private swap in one of the quilting boards I'm on. If anyone knows where this might be on a blog or in a magazine or a book or something, let me know please, so I can go ahead and link it down below. But I have this mock-up that I did like I did last time, because you got to use green and red for Christmas, right? I will also have this at a corresponding blog post, and I have an actual picture that I downloaded from online, so you can see which design I'm working from and what the actual numbers are, and you can go ahead and refer to that as needed. So what's fun about this block is it's an actual stocking, of course, and you can use any color background. I just stuck with the plain white because that's what I have an abundance of. But you take a 6.5 inch block of any design you want, any fabrics you want, and you use that as the main part of your stocking. Now, I was thinking, if you want to, you can have a different color cuff as you do the bottom of your stocking, but I kind of like the way these two match up nicely. If you were doing a different color background other than white, you could use a nice white cuff up there. Here's my second block I started mocking up. Now, of course, this spot here is where your 6.5 inch block is going to go. I thought I would just play with half square triangles this time. So I'd cut out a whole bunch of different fabrics, and I made a few different blocks. So the first one was the pinwheel that you already saw. And I'm going to link down below to the method I used. I went with the Missouri Quilt Company, where you take 2 pieces of fabric the same size, you lay them down on top of each other, you sew all the way around, and then you cut an X in it, and you end up getting 4 half square triangles. So because of that, I have 2 matching blocks. But this time, I put this fun Christmas pink with the little circles or balls or whatever in the center, so I could use that one. Then I had this fun snowman print, so I made this one. With his match. There are so many things you can do with half square triangles. And then this one is the same as this one, just different fabric, of course. But the one I think I'm going to use for this block is this one. Now, the process I took for sewing these together is I took this long bottom part of the stocking, and one at a time, I stitched all my toes and my heel. And then I stitched this piece on. I stitched these two together. Then I stitched this one, the white one, background to these. And then finally I took these into this. Now with these I did cut, I took my 2 blocks and I cut enough fabric for both blocks, and I cut my long strip here on the side. But let me show you something. Because I was using their measurements with scant 1/4 inch, and I cut everything out ahead of time, you can now see that I didn't have enough of this white fabric. So my recommendation for this block is, if you're going to cut out a bunch at a time, I would save this piece for last until after you have this whole section assembled. That way you can cut a longer piece. Or you can just cut with the fabric. You can lay it on there and sew it, and then cut it off there, sew it onto the next block. Because, well, right now it's no big deal. I'll just trim this down here, and I'll make it a little bit shorter. I could have trimmed a little off the bottom too, but I didn't want to lose too much of the toe and heel, so I decided if it's a little bit shorter up at the top, it'll be fine. This was another fun block to work on. It takes a little bit more time than the original block. Of course, because we didn't have to add any square into there. If you want to figure out what this measurement is here, you can do the same thing as this one and have a special square there. If you just Google 6.5 inch quilt blocks, you're going to come up with thousands of them. I'll put a link down below in the description for the Quilter's Cache, where you can look up blocks by the name or by their measurements. Now, when you look at it on there, they're showing you the finished size. So we need this to start at a 6.5 inch. When you sew it into the block, it'll be a 6 inch finished square. So if you're going to look on Quilter's Cache, you want to look for 6 inch squares. Now, don't blame me if you get lost on that website, because there are lots of blocks and they show you how they'll look if you put them into a quilt. So instead of just going somewhere and seeing the one block, they put them together in different patterns and designs so you can see what a finished item would look like. So I know it's a little early for Christmas and everything, but like I said before, my UFO number was pulled and it just happened to be the Christmas stocking, so this is what we're working on this week. So I hope you like these blocks. And if you'd like to see more like it, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to my channel. And if you ring that little bell, YouTube will let you know whenever a new video is put up. Thank you for joining me in my craft room, and I'll see you next week. Bye!